Savannah Guthrie's sister, daughter of Nancy Guthrie. Yesterday, when I was here, it was just myself and a crew from TMZ. We were joined briefly by a reporter for the New York Times. Today, though, there is a lot of media camped outside this home. We don't know if Savannah Guthrie is inside, but there is private security here, and that makes some reporters and photojournalists who've been on such high-profile stories before suggest that maybe she is.
Tonight,
In the quiet of an otherwise ordinary neighborhood, a single home has become the center of national attention. What was once a private residence, known only to family, friends, and neighbors, is now surrounded by cameras, reporters, and law enforcement activity. The focus of that attention is the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, a woman whose sudden absence has raised urgent questions and drawn federal investigators to her doorstep. When reporters first arrived at the residence, the scene was subdued. Only a small media presence was visible, including a limited crew and a few journalists monitoring developments from a distance. But within hours, the situation changed. By the following day, multiple media outlets had gathered outside the home, joined by photographers, producers, and correspondents from national organizations. Then private security was also observed at the property, signaling that the case had escalated beyond a routine missing person report. Authorities have not publicly confirmed whether any members of the Guthrie family were present inside the home during this time. What has been confirmed is that federal investigators returned to the residence to carry out a search authorized by a judge. The execution of a search warrant marked a critical turning point in the investigation, underscoring the seriousness with which law enforcement is approaching the case. This search was not symbolic. It was procedural, deliberate, and grounded in legal standards that require investigators to demonstrate probable cause. According to officials familiar with the process, the warrant allowed agents to access areas of the home that would otherwise remain private, or in order to search for evidence that could help establish what happened to Nancy Guthrie and where she may be. Agents moved through the house methodically. Each room was examined with care. Personal belongings were documented. Items that could potentially hold forensic value were identified and collected for further analysis. What had once been a space defined by routine and familiarity became a controlled environment, temporarily transformed into an active investigative site. Law enforcement sources indicate that digital devices were among the items secured during the search. In modern investigations, phones, computers, and other connected technology often play a crucial role in reconstructing timelines and movements. These devices can reveal communication patterns, location data, and activity logs that may help investigators understand the final hours or days before a person disappeared. Vehicles associated with the residence were also examined. Investigators paid close attention to both interiors and exteriors, searching for anything that might connect a vehicle's use to the events under investigation. This type of examination is standard in cases where authorities are attempting to determine whether a person left a location voluntarily or was transported elsewhere. Beyond the main living areas, investigators extended their search to surrounding spaces. Entry points, exits, and peripheral structures were reviewed. Cameras installed on or near the property were inspected to determine whether they captured relevant footage or showed signs of interruption. The authorities have not released specific findings related to surveillance systems, but they have acknowledged that video evidence, when available, is often critical in narrowing investigative timelines. Throughout the process, officials emphasized that no single piece of evidence tells the entire story. Investigations of this nature rely on the accumulation of small details, fragments of information that, when combined, may form a clearer picture of what occurred. As forensic teams worked, attention also turned to the human impact of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. For her family, the investigation is not an abstract exercise. It is a daily confrontation with uncertainty. A home that once provided comfort now carries the weight of unanswered questions. Familiar routines have been disrupted, replaced by waiting, watching, and hoping for clarity. Investigators have spoken with family members as part of the inquiry. These conversations are conducted carefully with the understanding that loved ones often hold essential contextual information, habits, schedules, and patterns that may appear ordinary but can become significant in retrospect. Authorities have stressed that such interviews are a standard component of missing person investigations and do not imply wrongdoing. In situations like this, even small inconsistencies in memory can emerge, not because of deception, but because stress and shock affect recall. Investigators are trained to interpret these nuances, cross-referencing statements with physical and digital evidence to build a reliable timeline. The emotional toll on families in cases like this cannot be overstated. Loved ones often grapple with feelings of helplessness, replaying ordinary moments and wondering whether something was overlooked. Experts note that these reactions are common and should not be confused with responsibility. Disappearances leave behind a psychological burden that compounds with each passing day without answers. As the investigation progressed, authorities also examined available medical and technological data associated with Nancy Guthrie. Devices designed to monitor health or provide connectivity can sometimes offer time-stamped information that assists in establishing when and where certain events occurred. Officials have not publicly disclosed specific data points, but they have confirmed that all available records are being reviewed as part of the broader effort to trace her movements. Digital forensics has become an indispensable tool in modern investigations. Cell phone signals, network connections, and device activity logs can sometimes reveal patterns invisible to the naked eye. These records are analyzed alongside physical evidence to determine whether there were disruptions, gaps, or anomalies that warrant further scrutiny. At the same time, authorities have cautioned against speculation. Not all data leads to immediate conclusions, and gaps in information do not automatically imply criminal behavior. Investigations often involve false leads and incomplete signals that require careful interpretation. Public interest in the case has continued to grow, fueled in part by the visibility of law enforcement activity and the presence of national media. With that attention comes the risk of misinformation. When officials have urged the public to rely on verified updates from credible sources and to avoid drawing conclusions before facts are confirmed. Experts familiar with missing person cases explain that public speculation can complicate investigations, especially when unverified theories spread rapidly online. While community awareness can sometimes generate helpful tips, it can also create pressure on families and investigators alike. Law enforcement agencies involved in the case have reiterated that their focus remains on gathering facts, following evidence, and ensuring that all investigative steps are conducted thoroughly and lawfully. They have declined to comment on potential suspects or motives, noting that such determinations, if applicable, come later in the process and only when supported by evidence. For now, the absence of definitive answers continues to shape every aspect of the story. Nancy Guthrie is more than a name and a headline. She is a mother, a grandmother, and a member of a community now struggling to understand how someone can vanish from a place that once felt secure. Neighbors and acquaintances have described a sense of unease, as routines once taken for granted now feel fragile. The case has prompted broader conversations about safety, awareness, and the unpredictability of life, reminders that such events can touch any household. As days pass, investigators continue to piece together information, reviewing evidence, conducting interviews, and following leads wherever they may point. Each step, no matter how incremental, is part of a larger effort to bring clarity to a situation defined by uncertainty. While authorities have not indicated when additional information may be released, emphasizing that investigations move at a pace dictated by evidence rather than public expectation. They have asked for patience, cooperation, and respect for the privacy of those affected. In the meantime, the focus remains on finding answers. Whether through physical evidence, digital records, or information provided by the public, investigators are committed to uncovering the truth behind Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Her story, still unfolding, serves as a reminder that behind every investigation is a human life and a family waiting for resolution. As the search continues, those following the case are encouraged to stay informed through official updates and to approach the situation with care, empathy, and restraint. For continued coverage and verified developments in the Nancy Guthrie case, stay connected and follow updates as they are confirmed. The investigation remains active, and every credible detail matters.